Good morning, everybody. 8:15 a.m., July 26th. We have FOMC today at 2 o'clock, followed by the press conference 2:30. And market made a little breakout yesterday, particularly in the ES SPY, and came into like a key level, last week's highs, and kind of sold off. Then we had earnings, which Google had a beat and it's up 6.54%. And then we had Microsoft talk about cloud, Azure, and spending more money for AI and a gradual move with AI, which the market didn't like. So any kind of cloud stuff is going to be taking a hit. Amazon's down 1.77%. Snow's down 3.30%. Microsoft's down 3.51% pre-market. Okay, that's what's going on with those big earnings. Okay, so now that we got a little bit of that out of the way, good morning to everybody. Let's get into this. My name is Steven Gonzalez. Welcome to my channel. We use volume profile, market profile to see the market structure and try to be on the right side of the market using supply and demand, using gamma exposure level, using moving averages. Try to be on the right side because price action can fool you. Okay, it's very easy to fool you. Try to keep us on the right side of the market. First time here, you can subscribe, you can set an alert. That would be much appreciated. You could always give me a thumbs up. Of course, you don't have to do it now. You can wait to see if you like what you see. Right? You can always follow me on Twitter, Gonzo719. And let's get into this. Let's just look at the watch list. All right, let's get into the watch list and see what's going on in the market. Not sure if Rosita's joining us today. Not sure if Wien's joining us. Just not sure. However, if you're new, welcome. Let's get into this. VIX up 1.73%. Got FOMC today. Wien, there's my boy. All right. Gold still holding up 0.52%. Bonds, 30-year bonds being bought up 0.2%. Russell basically flat. Had a lot of that Pac West bank information yesterday, what made the regional banks weak. However, they're stronger in pre-market. 10-year yield reports in 1 minute. 30-year bonds being bought. I would expect 10-year yield to be down slightly. We will get back to that. Silver's flat. Bitcoin's flat, under 30K. The dollar is slightly lower. ES is down 0.17. The Dow is down 0.18. Ether down 0.19. The Nasdaq down 0.33. Crude had a rise in inventory, so that's getting a bit of a pullback in crude. Okay, let's move on here. Okay, so Google had a beat, right? Google's looking good, up 6.42%, up at 130. Boeing. Now Boeing, I think they reported. Let me see something here. Oh yeah, they did report. Haven't had a chance to look into Boeing, but they're up 3.21%. They've been just in a big range. If you look at Boeing, it's been in a big range and hasn't able to really get out of it. So interesting, right? Now Meta is up 2.3%. Okay. Meta reports today after the close. Let's see here. Reports 7:26 after the close, right? However, Meta, if you look at Alibaba, okay, Alibaba is going to use Meta's AI model. So that's big news for Meta right before earnings. Okay. Okay. So Baba is not getting the most love because that news has to deal with Meta, right? So that's going to be good for Meta. Let's look at some laggards, and we have some. So Tesla could not break, really, what was that? 270 was a big level yesterday. In Tesla, it broke it initially off the open, but couldn't hold it. That was a big gamma flip point for the stock. Couldn't actually wait it and waited and got long there, and then that I got some excursion, and then it didn't work out for me. I actually went against one of my rules because I'm human, and didn't like the daily chart. There were some moving averages in the way. So yeah, that kind of broke a streak there for me, but that's okay because that's trading, right? Amazon, that it's got some lawsuit, okay, but it also with the cloud. Like what people did not like about Microsoft, okay, that also deals with AWS and Amazon, so that also is going to be negative in sympathy, okay. Snow is cloud, so that's down 3.17%, okay. Microsoft, obviously, their CEO mentioned capex expenditure increasing for AI, and the AI stuff is going to be gradual. She mentioned the word gradual, which is not like out of this world for AI. A gradual impact, right? It's going to cost more money and have gradual. The market didn't like that. Also with the cloud, Azure, whatever you say it, decelerating. So this what's going on with Microsoft. Now Amazon, let's see, they report August 3rd. Okay. Now moving on. Now top sectors here, top sector stocks. Let's look at this. Well, Target got a downgrade. Okay. Now usually you might get some sympathy in Walmart, but Walmart actually had an upgrade the other day, so that's leading the pack, followed by Morgan Stanley and Disney. And United Healthcare's just been a beast. Oh man, I'm so happy I bought that dip. Very happy with that. I was wanting to get my hands on United Healthcare for a long time, and it finally got down to those levels, and I picked that up. So I'm very happy about that. And they got a nice dividend. And the day I bought it, I think the next day was the dividend, so that was really really nice. Anyway, enough of that. Let's go to laggards. Okay, we got Visa. Okay, we got Salesforce, Qualcomm, all down pre-market. Now when's Qualcomm? Let's see when they report. They report August 2nd. Okay. So MicroStrategy got initiated at an outperform, just to let you know, and if the price target's 520. Spotify got an upgrade. Okay, those are some things in the news. Let's see here. Okay, moving on. Let's go to sectors. Now, no shocking surprise here. Communications is up 1.6%. That is because of Google, and that's because of Meta. So that's pretty big. Okay, that's pretty big. That's pretty big. And they actually hit a key level the other day. We can look at that later. The XLC sector hit a key level to the downside because Google got hit a little bit down to the 116 level. Meta also pulled back pretty mightily. So I'm going to really look at, I believe, Meta today. Now, man, we have FOMC, so I mean, moves will be definitely, up until probably 10:30, and then it will die, waiting for FOMC. Okay, so we got that. We got Boeing and industrials. Let's go down to laggards. Discretionary, Amazon and Tesla. Healthcare, that's interesting. Healthcare is down 0.52%. Now, let's Johnson and Johnson is really not that bad, and United Healthcare is not. So there may be a big heavyweight also, like AbbVie, Pfizer, Merck. They must have reported earnings or something like that. Semis is down 0.73. Now, what we got? AMD is only down 0.49. Nvidia is up. So Nvidia, oh, you killed me yesterday. I wanted to pull back to 450, and it just took off like a rocket. It just took off like a rocket. I was looking for a pullback to 450, and it just rocketed. I was like, oh, went out me. And the weakest is XLK. Well, that's Microsoft. Okay, XLK is Microsoft. So that's down 1.12%. Now XLK, made all-time highs. So just keep that in perspective. All-time highs in XLK. Okay. Now what do we got today? We got Fed target, right? Fed target. We got FOMC. Okay. Now, I don't think we're gonna get a shock today. Okay. Let's look at the Fed target rate. All right, that's a 98.9% that we're going to get a 25 base point rate hike today. There's a 1.1% chance we get. Wait a minute here. Yeah, that we get a 50 basis point rate hike, but we're pretty much pricing in a 25 point base rate hike. Okay, I'd be shocked, if it's any more or he doesn't do it, but this is pretty much priced in. Okay, so there's not going to be really a shock today. It's more going to be what he says in the press conference. But to be honest with you, he's been very hawkish, like higher for longer. Even like saying last time he spoke, he said at a press conference, he said he doesn't even see his 2% inflation till 2025. So he's portraying hawkish, but the market hasn't cared. Okay, because the market's already priced in all these rate cuts. So something else has to happen, right? Let's move on to some news, right? Okay. We'll briefly go over some of this. All right, so we know Google wrote, impressed with the second quarter profit on the back of steady demand for its cloud services and rebound in advertising, right? Microsoft fell. Their software giant reported their growth at its key Azure cloud computing division decelerated 27%. Okay. Coca-Cola rose 1.7. Snap fell 17.5% after the photo messaging app owner reported weaker than expected their guidance. Man, every time Snap has bad earnings, right? AT&T stock rose 2% after telecommunications giants beat estimates. Wells Fargo stock rose 2.5% after the bank's board authorized a new share buyback program of up to $30 billion. All right, here's the Amazon news. Amazon stock fell 1.6% after Politico reported the U.S. Federal Trade Commission is finalizing its long-awaited antitrust lawsuit against the online retail giant that could ultimately break up parts of the company. Okay, but also the cloud negative news with Microsoft is not helping Amazon either. Okay. Then what's this? Stellantis stock rose 2.1% after the world's third largest automaker by sales beat first half expectations for revenue. Deutsche Bank stock rose 1% after the German lender posted a 27% fall in the second quarter profit as investment banking revenue slumped, but this was still better than expected. Okay. So that's what's going on there. Now, let's go over to, where was that? Right here. So, what I wanted to show you just real quick is the Baba news. Let's see, Meta. Oh, doesn't matter. Oh, here we go. That's all I really wanted to show you about Baba. Alibaba's cloud unit brings Meta's AI model Llama to its clients. That's really all I wanted to show you. Let's see if there's anything else that dropped here. Okay, so on Boeing beats revenue estimates. That's why Boeing is up. Okay. Just wanted to see here what we got here. Now, as far as economic calendar, we have new home sales at 10 a.m. So that could cause a little volatility at 10 a.m. Okay. Then we have the the FOMC at 2 p.m. followed by the press conference. Okay. I don't think the statement could. It obviously is going to cause volatility, right? It's going to cause volatility. However, the press conference probably will be more heavily weighted, right, of what he says. But the market has not cared of late. Okay, CPI has been falling. That's what the market cares about. Now, let's get over to the daily charts. All right, let's get over to the daily charts. Okay, so what do we have here in the SPY? The SPY, let's look at this little move. The SPY went up to last week's highs, then sold off. Okay, so we kind of broke out of these levels here. Boom, went all the way up to 456.74. Right, kind of breached last week's highs, and then we pulled back. Okay, that's what happened. Where are we at now? We're at 454.90. So we are right in the middle of yesterday's range. Yeah, we're about in the middle. Okay, right back at really this breakout level. That's where we're at in the SPY. Okay, so you can see last week, right? Last week's highs went up to it, sold off. Now we're kind of here, right? The monthlies, look at that. It almost went up to the highs 456.74. I still have this resistance at 458. This could be a little break up and a pullback possibly in the market. Does it just keep racing? It could. Here's the profile. Okay, here's the profile. And this is what I was talking about. This is why I love having these levels here. I can zoom in just to show you. So these orange represents weeklies, okay, every week. So when you're on the current price action, okay, it's going to show me last week's. Okay, so this is last week's high and low. You can see it came right up to last week's highs. Then it pulled back. Then it came back up, broke it, and then fell. Right? Now the whites, whenever you see the whites on my chart, okay, that's last month's. That's last month's highs. Okay. So I can easily see real quickly where the week and the months on one chart. Okay. And each profile here is the week. So you can see the profile lines up with these orange lines from last week. But I like just seeing these because it shows me confluence. Okay. It shows me confluence. Okay. Now if I put the extended hours on here, all right, this is what we do all, 24 hours almost. Okay. So you can see last month's highs. So we're within last week, so I could see that right off the bat here, right? But we're gaining volume here, right? See, we're kind of staying here. So we can move this up, But today we'll get some volatility, so that's not going to matter as much. We'll go higher, we'll go lower. It's FOMCs are crazy, so it's not a typical day, all right, in the market. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on to the Qs. The Qs are weaker. Okay, the Qs are weaker. So let's look at the price action in the Qs. So the price action in the Qs, notice the SPY broke the recent highs of last week. Look at the NASDAQ. It had a big pullback, right? Big pullback. And then it started to move out of a break and resistance, and then it came back in, right? Where is it now? 378.13, 378.13, right here at the midpoint of yesterday. Same as the SPY. Okay, you got the 8 EMA daily here that it pierced, but then was able to close above it. Okay, now it was below it here, but now it's above it. Okay, now we did have this the fib, right? So in this fib, like I said, it came back to 50, bounced off there, right? So we're still above. We still only pull back 50%. And now let's see what we do. Let's go over to the weeklies. See that? Look at that high of last week. SPY broke last week's highs. Look at the Qs, right? I said this 372 level is a key level. It still is. Very key. I think most people are going to wait for that to be tested to see if they get a dip there. Okay. Right. So now we're kind of consolidating this month. You can see the dip pulled back, right? And also, let's see what we did from last week, right? So, show you again these orange lines. This is why I love these on my chart, right? Right there's last week's low. So here's last week's high, last week's low. Look where we pull back. Right to last week's lows. Right? And then yesterday, we never touched them. So we held last week's lows. And then we moved up, right? So we're building out volume here. You got double distribution here in the profile. Okay. All right. Let's move on to the Dow. The Dow's been just churning, right? United Healthcare, largest holding. All right. But we went up to a key area, 353.71. So let's see here. And that's just creeping, right? Industrials, Boeing is going to move the Dow. United Healthcare, UPS. Well, UPS, I got to make sure that's in the Dow. I'll make sure of that. But UPS seems to have settled the strike. They seem to came into an agreement. They got a vote on, I believe, now. Okay, so right now I'm looking at it, and UPS is the leader in the top sector stocks right now. Now, So you can see this, like look at these candles. That's because of the weakness in tech, right? In the Nasdaq, but that's not the Dow is not. It's only 30 stocks, so it's not going to be destroyed by that. All right, Microsoft is a holding, but it's not the largest holding. United Healthcare is, and I believe followed by Goldman Sachs. So let's look at that. So we're above this level, and look where we came yesterday. We came down to that 357, 353.71, and we kind of like closed here, right? This is just up, 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 up. Let's look at the week. We broke out of this range. No surprise there. Anytime you break out of a big range of that, you're going to get a big move. Well, we got it. So there's the monthlies. Look at that monthly. Now look at this resistance. It's stopping there, right? Well, now let's see what it's going to do. Today, FOMC, we could push or we could fold underneath that level. Now, here's a very key thing and a big difference of what I just showed you with the NASDAQ and the SPY. NASDAQ held the weekly lows, right? And SPY broke last week's highs. Now check this out. And then rolled over a little bit, right? Well, let's look at the Dow. There's last week's highs. So we're above last week's highs. Last week's highs. I repeat that. So that's the strength of the Dow. Here's last month's highs, the white. So the Dow is getting love. All right, United Healthcare is the largest holding. Remember that, and it's on a tear. So moving on to the Russell. Now, there was some PacWest Bank, a bunch of discussion about that, which caused some weakness in the Russell. So let's go to the Russell. Okay, got a double top here in the daily, and I'm still watching this level, 194.09. Okay, right now we're at 195.18. We're right here. Okay, so I'm really watching this. If we pierce and come back into here, I might want to do something with options in the IWM. Okay, so this is a big level here that I want to see something. Okay, so we're right at the AEMA daily, right there. We're holding that. We're holding the 194. You can see in the weeklies that we have resistance at 199. So holding here, right, and a little push through, but then a come up, that's going to be probably a nice move to at least here. Okay, so I got to keep my eye on that. Big range. You can just see it, right? All right, let's move on to the, here's this profile. Now look, just want to show you what the IWM is doing. Right, FOMC's today, so it can kind of negate this, but it's still important. Most trader prices now moved up to here, right? I believe that was that way yesterday. So this is just really holding, right? Because what do we have? We have last week's lows here. It hasn't even touched that. Okay, hasn't even touched that. It actually has the week before's highs. That's really what it's holding. Okay, so this is bullish. This is bullish. However, FOMC will shake something out of this. You're going to get a move. You're going to get a move. But it's really what happens tomorrow, okay, sets the tone, or late today. All right. Now let's get the triple-headed going here. Like I said, the 10-year yield has went down 1.1%. Okay. People are buying 30-year bonds. So this rose up to this level, found some selling, and now we are down 1.1%. We're down to 38.6. Okay. Still, this bond market has not rolled over, even though this, usually these yields would be dropping as the market moves up. But it's just, there's a disconnect there. Okay, so the VIX, I mean, just in this range, right? It's in a range. What else? We have the dollar. The dollar has some weakness today. So a little bit of weakness, right? We're back down to 101.19. Have to see the dollar is going to do today will obviously impact the dollar. Okay, whatever the Fed does. All right, so let's move on. Let's go to my favorite, the market profile and volume profile. And that wraps up, whoop, that wraps up that. All right, let's move on to market profile, volume profile. All right. Now, let's get my trusty marker. Okay. So, I'm going to go over what we always go over. Let's look at the profile over the last rolling week. It is very balanced, okay? So, what I talked about yesterday, I said this had a weak high here that had a potential to break out, and it did, okay? And it did. And where did we go? We went right into supply, okay? And we have a nice completed profile now. Look at that beautiful bell curve. That's balance waiting for FOMC. No surprise there. The most traded price of the rolling week is 45.80. 45.80. Okay, that's our line in the sand. Okay. Now, where's the market now? Right here. And we have a poor low. That's probably going to get broken as I'm talking. Right here. These are shorts at poor location. Right? Now there's longs there. Now this should correct should right now bit broke and get some excess. But there's a demand zone here, so I'm expecting this to get broken as we speak. Once it comes back down here again, this should correct and make this have excess. Okay? Probably going to happen when I'm speaking. All right, so we're at, we made a big move. There it did, see? It just broke it. It just broke it. Now you got to see if you get follow through. So let's see where we're at in relation. Now yesterday I had what's called an open drive. So open here and then just drove higher. Drove higher. And these are half hours, so it drove higher. All right, and it only pulled back to here. And then it took off. Okay, so there's our high, there's our low. Overnight high, overnight low. Okay, so we're back into waiting a game. Okay, because the market said, okay, you went up. Yeah, we're not ready for that move yet. We're coming right back to balance. Okay, Microsoft's earnings, Amazon now down 1.72% pre-market. Okay, that's gonna, cause this kind of weakness. And we're right back. See how that works? We're not here yet, but waiting for FOMC, you're probably gonna be around this area. Okay, most traded price of the overnight is right here. Okay. So we don't have much edge right now. Let's look at the overnight inventory. Now, we open here. This is the only long activity to this much short activity. Okay, here's 50%. So we're about 75% net short in the overnight, and we're at the lows. So generally, when you're that short, okay, you can look for a fade. Okay, now you have a demand zone that's been holding here. You can see it right here. It has not been broken yet. So what I would expect is we're going to get into scenarios right now, okay? So we have kind of almost big resistance here. Let's call it 46 right here. Let's call it 4607, 4608. That's our resistance above. Okay, that's our resistance above in the futures. Big resistance there. Market told us it can't go there yet. Can't break out there yet. That's what the market's telling us right now. Okay, and then we have our 4580. That's the most traded price of the week. Now, what do we have there? We have a weak low. Okay, now where's our weak low at? Right here. Look what happened here. Look at yesterday's. Um, so this was the overnight last night, the overnight activity. Then we opened right there again. And where does it line up with 4580? So this 4580, it could be a key. No, not could be. It is a key level. Okay, in the futures. If it holds, then we could bounce. Now you do have demand down here, so you could break it and hit this demand, and then you could bounce. Okay, but this is a key level, 4580. Okay, so let's go over scenarios right now. Okay, let's look at a bullish scenario. Now again, throw all this out when FOMC comes out, right? It's not going to matter. See, we're starting to test this demand zone. Can we break it? Right? It looks like it's probably, there it is. Just broke that demand zone. Okay? Just by a little bit. Need some flush down here. Okay? Like I said, it wouldn't surprise me if we came down here and waited right for the open. That would not surprise me at all. Okay? So, once this and you got some single prints here, just to give you some example. These are single prints. See the volume, how little skinny that is? That's not going to be very supportive, and it probably there it is. Okay, you're pushing down, and probably going to land around here in the open. Okay, so since this is broken, we're going to remove this demand zone now. That demand zone is broken. Okay, now we're getting excess. All right, let's move on. So, if you're a bull, what you want to see, okay, is two things. Come down here. The Dow is dumping hard. The Dow is down 0.28%. Well, let's see here. Salesforce is part of the Dow, and I believe Visa is part of the Dow. They're down 0.55%. Right? You got Microsoft. I mean, the Nasdaq is down more, but we just broke this area, right? So here's what I'm looking at: 45.80. We got our week low. We got the most traded price of the week. So if you're a bull, okay, you want to come down here. Now, two things can happen. You can hold it, and then that could make a move. You could also, that's one, right? You could break it, come above it. That's also. You can come down here into this demand. You got the 9 EMA daily down here. You could break this even and come up, and that could be a stop here to go here. So that's all the bull scenario. Okay. Now you're getting a little bit of buying here because there's excess now. Okay. Just in structure, these are single prints. They should be cleaned. I would expect them to be cleaned, but if it doesn't get cleaned, that's a sign of strength. Okay. If you can't clean these singles, that's a sign of strength. Sellers can't push lower. Okay. Let's look at the bearish scenario. Okay, now the bearish scenario would be if you come down here, clean these singles, push under this, hold, Then you got this demand though. However, I would expect to get some support here, but then, you know, do we test this 9 EMA daily? Right? Now remember, we don't know what's going to happen today, FOMC press conference. Okay? So this move can be muted because of that. I'm just showing what possibly could happen. You could get a bounce here, or we could work our way down to this demand. Okay? You also have the possibility for the market to move right into this supply, which is also the most traded price of yesterday, and also could get weakness and sell off waiting for FOMC. Okay? So the ES is down currently 0.24. Nasdaq is down 0.36. So now let's look at the Nasdaq. Oh, Nasdaq's giving us some levels here right away. Okay, right away. Let's look at the profile. So Nasdaq, it's got some excess now on the bottom, and now we're holding above the most traded price of the week. What price is that? 155.60. So we're holding above that price, right? I mentioned the Nasdaq is weaker, but the most traded price of the last week, it's holding above it. Okay, it's holding above it, and it's starting to have a bullish imbalance here. So we need a little more excess. Now, I'm not calling for anything. I'm just saying that it's getting overloaded here. All right, you got your little excess here, and the market said it couldn't go lower. Okay, now you're going to notice something here. We also had an open drive yesterday in the Nasdaq. See, it just opened here, it drove up, came all the way back to here, couldn't touch that low, and it went right up, right? And where did it go? Well, you had a weak high here. See this? That it pierced, boop, right there, and then it rolled over. Okay. Now let's look at where we're at. Let's look at where we're at. Okay, so we have a weak high here. Okay, right here. Overnight high and yesterday's high. That's a weak high. Okay, so we got our weak high. So let's look. We have overnight high, yesterday's high, yesterday's low, overnight low. Price is here. It's in the demand zone. It didn't break its demand zone like the ES did. Okay, and here's where we opened in the overnight. This is the only long activity compared to all this short activity. So we're about 75-80% net short. Okay. Okay, so we have our levels, right? This is the most traded price of yesterday. We're below that as well. Okay. So here's our key level for today, right? Monthly VWAP right here. 155.60. That's the line in the sand. Still, it's the line in the sand. All right, so let's go for the bull scenario. Okay, so this demand zone, there's a couple things that could happen. So this demand zone can act as support, make higher lows, and then what's going to happen is all the shorts up here are going to just have to cover. We could visit the most traded price of yesterday. We can go right into this supply and wait for FOMC. The other bullish scenario is break the demand, and now we test our level here. And testing it, and you could bounce off monthly VWAP, make some higher lows, also could get the move waiting for FOMC. Okay. Let's go with the bearish scenario. Okay. We got our level here. All right. So first, okay, would be push down, push all the way up to here into this supply, even maybe boop, break it, make lower high, and then we wait for FOMC. Could also push lower, right? Now, we could also, off the open, push down, go into this demand zone, break it, and what happens here? If we come to this, break under it, hold under monthly VWAP, and then we can look at this 20 simple moving average on the daily. Okay. We have single prints too right here in the overnight. Okay. So this is really what I'm looking at today. So got to be interested in some maybe short activity up here, right? Got to be thinking long if this is defended. And that doesn't mean for a breakout. That means you make some type of move before FOMC. Okay. So that's going to be it. All right. Hope everybody got something from that analysis. We got levels. We got nice levels to work with. Okay. So if you haven't already, subscribe, set an alert. Help me out a lot. All right. Give me a big thumbs up if you like what you saw. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Gonzo719. All right. And I wish everybody a good trading day. I don't, like I said, I don't expect fireworks. Remember, 10 a.m. 10 a.m. There's housing coming out, which if you're in a tight stop or something, be careful. Okay. So really look at what I'm going to look at is anything very weak right now. Any stock that's very, very, very weak, buy a gamma flip point. Okay. Which one of them is Microsoft. Now I have to update that gamma flip point. It's at a monthly flip point right now, 338 about. Okay. $337.50. Just so you understand. I don't know if that still is. I see I have to update. That's why I don't give you guys the gamma flip points a lot because they change. However, yesterday's monthly flip point was 337.50. There's no surprise to me that it's being held there. Which that means is once it goes below that, that's negative gamma. Okay, that would be bad for the stock. Okay, no surprise to me that it went to that level. If that gets defended, if this market moves lower and the big levels get defended in the Nasdaq and the ES, you could catch a bid on Netflix. I mean, on Microsoft, right? Because it's gapping down. Some people might think it's a buy now. So I'm going to be watching that. Now, like I said, I'm not expecting huge breakout moves before FOMC. I believe that if we do get a move higher, you should probably commence some selling and balance out for FOMC, and we kind of die. You'll see it. You'll see it happen. So anyway, good luck today. It's probably it for me. Heal for me today. Good luck. Stay green. Let's be patient. Okay. All right. See you guys.